And so today I have with me Shaun Hutto. He is a friend and colleague, and I'm so excited to have him. So Shaun is a licensed professional counselor working in Colorado. He works with both individuals and couples, and he really truly specializes in working with domestic violence, and that includes emotional abuse, physical, sexual abuse, and spiritual abuse, and then with the addition of narcissistic abuse and sociopathic abuse. And so I'm so excited to have him here because not only is he a true expert in the field, he also has personal experiences of domestic violence in his history. So Shaun, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
And so in our conversations, domestic violence is, not a heated topic, but a passionate topic for the two of us. So share a little bit about your story and your personal history with domestic violence.
Yeah. Man, well, to be honest, some of my first memories are of domestic violence in my household. I have 3 memories that I remember from a little one, and the third memory is my father beating my mother. I remember multiple times, like just looking in their bedroom, because I'd look in their bedroom and like she would just be bent over with like her hands clutched over her head. And she always said the same thing. No, Ed, not in front of the kids. Mm-hmm. And like he would just be standing over her, like just cracking her over and over again. And he was always aiming for the skull, which is why she would always be like this. I would always see her in a crouched position, just, screaming, no, not in front of the kids. She never pleaded for don't hit me. She never said anything like that. All it was just not in front of the kids. Mm-hmm. I remember all of the beatings that I personally witnessed, but also, I remember, going to 5 different domestic violence shelters, in the middle of the night, 2, 3, 4 in the morning. And I was always expecting it when I went to sleep. When I went to bed, and typically at that time, I was at that age where, I'd sleep in my sister's room or my sister would sleep in my room because we were playing all night. And I always knew that if I got this wake up on your shoulder, like shake on your shoulder, I always knew. And even before I'd open my eyes, I'd be like, he did it again, Mom. And it was always the same. Every time we left, we'd be gone for a day, 2, 3. One time we were gone for like 2 weeks, and ended up staying at a friend's house in another state. And every time we came back, my dad was the same. He'd give my sister and I a really big hug. He'd get down on his knees and, oh, I missed you so much, and I love you. And he'd look at us with like tears in his eyes, not actually crying, but some tears in his eyes. So there was some emotion there. And he really didn't say much. And then he'd give us a kiss and a hug. And then we'd go inside and play. And it was like nothing ever happened. The only time I ever remember my mom and dad talking after that is I remember once I was walking into the living room, into the kitchen to get something to eat or something. And I remember I came out because I wanted to ask Dad a question or something. And I remember him and Mom talking, and I remember, and this was the last time we actually went to a shelter. And he goes, just remember, there's nowhere you can ever go that I won't find you. And I remember very distinctly hearing that. Like, what are you going to do now? And I started to talk and understanding as a kid that you are allowed to be you, that you are allowed to have your own thoughts, feelings. You're allowed to have your own needs, wants, and desires. Learning, because eventually I even told her, I was like, I don't want to be like, my biggest fear in my life, younger, even into my young adulthood. It's weird saying young adulthood now, but anyway.
Right? I'm like, I'm not a kid anymore. Shoot.
Totally. was I didn't want to be like my father. And then later it was I didn't want to be like my mother. And then that was my biggest fear. Like, I didn't want to be like my dad.
Yeah.
I want to be like my mom. And learning that I didn't have to follow in those footsteps, like I could choose my own path. Like I could become the person that I was always meant to be. And there's this thing I tell even my clients today is I would never want you or wish for you to go through those experiences, but there's these things that are left to us in these traumatic events that I call dark gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an opportunity to really grow the best versions of yourself. Like the people who get caught in domestic violence situations, narcissistic, sociopathic abuse, are peoples with high levels of empathy, or HSPs, highly sensitive persons.
Yep.
People who are extremely compassionate have high levels of empathy, sympathy, caring, and compassion, which is why they get hooked, so badly in those relationships. Is their best qualities are used against themselves. Like, why do I stay? Because I want to be in the relationship I was when we first got together. Like, what did I do to lose it? They say they love me, but I need to keep coming back. So for me, recognizing those things that were going on in my family and saying, I don't want those, but actually truly looking at myself. And actually here was the scariest thing I ever realized is I do have part of my dad in me. I do have part of my mom in me. Those narratives are there, but the truth is like the way I've looked at it now in reauthoring those is that's who I could have been. Those are things that are a part of me, but I don't choose to engage in that because the story of who I am is so much different. You have to become, in many ways, in some cases, you have to become your own hero. You have to become the person that you want to be. Sometimes you have to visualize the person you want to be. What are those virtues, which are the reflection of the soul? What are those morals and values and traits